name's Laura Hodson. I'm here from Monsoon Consulting and I am a head of design. So I've been working in the industry for quite a long time. But yeah, so today I'm just going to talk about, I suppose, some of the challenges that I feel are kind of quite relevant when it comes to personalisation in the B2B world. Also then kind of covering off, I suppose, quickly what is personalisation, especially when it comes to e-commerce. And then how can we offer personalisation to kind of B2B e-commerce. Sorry. Okay, so I suppose I picked kind of three main challenges that I think are quite relevant. I suppose the first one is around data and the organisations kind of struggle to, I suppose, what to do with this data and how can we get it to benefit and affect the business. So the Gartner CSO update has stated that like 46% of CSOs state that leveraging data and analytics to enhance commercial performance is a huge challenge for them. And I suppose when we look at, the ideal scenario, what we do is we collect the data and analytics, and then we start to kind of look at data patterns, we discover and interpret them, and then that will enable us to make data-driven decisions. And that will then feed into kind of optimizing sales and marketing, which eventually then will increase commercial performance. So that's the kind of, the ideal scenario on how it would work. But I think the main kind of, point in reality is that a lot of companies and organizations are struggling to connect the dots between the data and their customers. There's obviously so many different types of reasons for this, but I suppose some of the main ones would be around data silos, that data is sitting across lots of different areas, they're not talking to each other, it's all kind of very, there's no one central repository. GDPR, we all know that that's an absolute headache as well, so a lot of the times it is quite a barrier, and as well with security, where does all this data sit, and that's a huge challenge. And also around skills gaps, a lot of the time organisations don't have the personnel or the kind of resources to put all that information together and do that, interpreting, data-driven decisions and kind of really kind of get into the hood of the analytics and data. And then around cultural mindset, a lot of companies that we've come across as well would have, the traditional side of the business and then the e-commerce side of the business. And the e-commerce side of the business is probably a little bit, more using the data, more forward thinking. But the kind of more traditional side are probably in the old kind of more traditional ways of doing business and making decisions. Another big issue as well is around the collection of too much data. This is the trap that a lot of people fall into. Collecting data for the sake of it. And I think a lot of the times because there's no plan, there's no goals, there's no, overall purpose. So what it is, let's just catch it all, let's just collect it all. But there really needs to be a purpose for every piece of data that's collected, and also, have to be considerate about what it is that's collected. And when it comes to personalisation, obviously data is key. So, it does need to be collected, obviously. Another major issue, I think, that's kind of quite a barrier for users and organisations and everything at the moment is information overload. Information overload is defined as, too much information accessible all at the one time. It can't be processed properly. And at the moment, in today's world, there's so much information out there, and it's so much more than ever before. And it's really, really high quality data, and information, that organizations are really, doing a really good job of putting all of this information together, putting it out on their websites, putting it out on all their platforms. But I think what's happening as well is that rather than customers feeling enabled and empowered by all this information, it's actually kind of a little bit overwhelming, because they now have the job of prioritizing, picking out what's the right piece of information for them at the right time, and the different kind of perspectives and things like that. So it's kind of becoming a little bit of a barrier as well. And the reason for this is, I suppose, I'm kind of bringing you back to a bit of a user experience law, Miller's law, and that it's around that cognitively we can only process 7 pieces of information at one time, and those 7 pieces of information literally fade from your brain after about 20 to 45 seconds. So what we see here is all the kind of information that might meet a user when they come to a product page. So all of this information here is on a product page of an e-commerce, B2B e-commerce site, but really what they'll only remember is 7 pieces, and then it will just fade from their mind. So obviously part of my job is to assist our customers to, you know, get the right amount of information, have techniques that, you know, enable kind of chunking and grouping things together. But also personalisation then is a way of, you know, enabling a better processing of the information, because you're taking away all of the kind of unnecessary, irrelevant pieces of information that aren't relevant to the user. And I thought this piece of information was quite interesting. It's about kind of, I suppose, taking you offline. You're kind of going to more the offline world, and that research shows that the most successful sales representatives are the ones that focus less on, you know, demonstrating all of their expertise, loading more information onto customers, but actually the ones that are most successful are the ones that help their customers align the information that's already out there, and they become like an information connector. So I think that the online world can really kind of, I suppose, you know, they would, I suppose, take inspiration from this, and that's again how personalisation can enhance experience, because they are kind of acting as that information connector. And then the third challenge I see as well is the kind of digital control shift that's going on. And what I mean by that is that in the past, organizations and kind of, you know, website controllers, e-commerce, all of, you know, the kind of the top down, it always kind of, they controlled, I suppose, the e-commerce experience for their customers. They dictated how customers interacted, how they, you know, used the platforms and the products and the services. But I suppose what's happening with, I suppose, you know, advancements in technology is that that's shifting now. The control now is with the customers and the users, and, you know, they're demanding greater experiences and greater choice and control over their shopping experiences when it comes to online e-commerce. So they want to have convenience, and they want to have a seamless, very personalised experience that caters to them, caters to all of their own preferences. So like, I suppose it's you know, it's here to stay really, that, you know, that obviously users are demanding flexible, consistent and high quality experiences. And, you know, companies need to start, I suppose, taking this into consideration and getting on board with personalisation, because I suppose most of the big players out there are actually already giving it to their customers. So B2C, obviously we see Amazon, we see, you know, all of the bigger guys, and they're already kind of, you know, well underway with this personalisation experience. So what is personalisation? I know we probably all kind of know a bit about it, but you know, I suppose I just want to quickly address, you know, I suppose go through it very quickly when it comes to UX. So we've got you know, your data, you've got your customers, and personalisation really acts as a profile for the user and adjusts the interface accordingly, and it tailors the interface to the specific needs and, I suppose, personal interests of the user. It leads to a better user experience, and, you know, it facilitates them finding what they need very quickly and allows them to complete their tasks at a lot faster rate. And the different types of personalisation. So you have individualised. This is the segment of one. So basically it's me as a person and all of the different kind of data points that collect data about me, which feeds into my kind of experience. This is what Netflix are doing, your social media platforms, obviously, you know, Facebook, Instagram, we all know how much they're kind of really tailoring it to the individual. And then role-based, that's more where the B2B world is, I think. You know, that obviously we're more around segmentation, around roles, around customer groups, around kind of permissions and things like that. And then location-based, obviously that's, you know, fairly self-explanatory. It's around where you are in the world or in the regions and things like that. Yeah, so I suppose as much as we, it's definitely here to stay. Personalisation is the kind of way of the future, and 77% of customers prioritise companies that do offer them this experience or service. And yeah, so when I suppose we talk about personalisation as well. We need to talk about, I suppose, the AI. I know, Tig's already mentioned a bit about AI earlier, but when it comes to individualisation as well, AI is obviously very, the main driver of this. And where it comes into practice in e-commerce is obviously that it will use advanced data analytics, artificial intelligence and machine learning all together to kind of customize and deliver a very relevant experience for individual customers. It kind of goes that one step further by using real-time data and kind of really hones in on what the user needs and wants. And I guess we don't really need to we know the benefits really, but it gives enhanced customer experience, customer satisfaction. And I suppose because of that, then obviously you would expect then increased conversion rates because you're cutting out unnecessary clutter, you're putting the products that the customers want straight in front of them, and therefore leading to better customer retention and loyalty. And from an organisational perspective, it gives better customer insights and better forecasting for products and services and all of that. But I suppose we have to we know all about the benefits. We probably, we need to have some major considerations as well when it comes to the collection of more and more data from users, and that we really have to be considerate and very careful and I suppose very mindful of privacy boundaries, data security and the ethical side of this data usage. While users really want relevant information, there really is a fine line, I suppose, and that sometimes it can cross over into the intrusive. Sometimes it takes that little bit to step too far. It can border on the creepy almost sometimes. But I think once companies are keeping mindful and keeping the privacy of their customers really at the forefront of their plans, that it's something that can work quite successfully. So, complexity of B2B personalisation. These are some of the top three, I suppose, issues that we've come across, I suppose, when it comes to personalisation and putting it together for a B2B e-commerce platform. And the first, obviously, is data collection. So, compared to B2C, B2B is, the segmentation is obviously really critical to success. And because there is a wide range of data spread across multiple touch points, there's legacy issues and there's constraints. So we've come across that obviously this is quite a big barrier to getting it up and running and working successfully. Another one is B2B as very nature is already highly customized. There's dynamic pricing, there's product catalogs, and these are standard requirements for B2B, but there's already kind of that layer going on, and when you're enabling personalization on top of that, it can lead to a few issues with some functionality working that we have come across in the past. So we're building upon an already highly customized kind of foundation, so it starts to maybe throw a little bit of a spanner in the works sometimes. And then integrations, a lot of the times B2B companies are relying on legacy systems that they don't easily support kind of the advanced technologies that need to drive a lot of these kind of personalization tools. So, what we found is that, these legacy systems, while they possibly can work, it obviously takes a lot more time and investment, more budget, and more integration efforts, and can lead to a longer, timeline for the project. And so all that aside, how do we offer B2B how do we offer personalization for a B2B e-commerce? And this is some of the things that we have implemented. And, from a very basic level, I think they're a great foundation to start from. But as a UX designer, obviously, I can't go any forward without talking about, knowing the users. and bringing you back to that information connector or the journey orchestrator. How can you assist your customers to filter through the right information if you don't know what their journey is, you don't know what and when certain behaviours are being what patterns are being used across your e-commerce platform. You can do this by UX research. You've got user journey maps, really looking at each of the stages of the funnel. What questions do the users have at each stage? And if you don't understand what the journey is, you can't provide the right information at the right time, and that is a true omni-channel experience and how it is successfully rolled out. And dynamic pricing. So I suppose this, it's not maybe an obvious personalisation, when it comes to the grander scheme of things, but this is obviously 101 when we come to a B2B platform implementation. It by its very nature, B2B already gives a very personalised pricing structure to each customer, so either individually or by segment and group. And, being able to integrate with this, is usually top of the list for when it comes to our work when it comes to B2B e-commerce. So same product, different customers seeing different prices. That's essentially a very personalised experience from the very start. Customer specific catalogues, again, very classic B2B that, each customer requires a very, customised view of catalogues. And these can be based on individuals, role-based, or, customer groups. So also it could be like a logistical limitation as well to certain products and, different commercial arrangements and things like that. Those kind of arrangements and logistical things will dictate what a user can and can't see, can and can't buy. And here you can see obviously the top customer and then the bottom customer maybe have a different role and permission, or a different, they're certified boiler installers, for instance, and the top user is not certified, therefore will not see those products. Product recommendations. This, can be handled by AI and is handled by AI, but, out of the box, really, most e-commerce platforms will allow users or the editors to actually add products that are relevant, and they can suggest products based on cart, things like that, segmented groups. So it does get tricky with the upkeep of this when you take away, I suppose, the AI side of it, but it is something that can be done on, on a very basic level. But the main point to remember is relevance, and that the products must be relevant to the product itself or the user or the customer group. So, there's absolutely no point in recommending products that aren't relevant. Notifications, that's another thing that we have used to draw attention to content or products across websites, that you can target either individually or you can target a customer group. And it can really assist when there is an abundance of information on a website. And, a lot of, B2B, obviously, it's not just about the e-commerce journey. There's so much more than that. There is industry news. There's, lots of different supporting documentation, as well as new products back in stock. So it can handle a lot of relevant information and give it to the user at a timely and very kind of, I suppose, personalised way. And so we find that quite effective. You just have to look at social media channels to see how well notifications work. Tig's touched on this already around cart and checkout. You can really personalise this based on the user. So, as Tig mentioned earlier, you can go to a cart as a credit customer. There's no need to go to the checkout. It has all my information, it has all my data, it has, all of the information it needs to bill me. So really I can just place order from the cart, or the same website, same e-commerce platform, log in as a different customer, they're not approved for credit and they get the more traditional checkout steps. So it's really, it can be quite bespoke based on the customer that's logging in, and decluttering unnecessary information and kind of taking away all those additional layers that aren't needed to a checkout obviously is really, really important and can be that express checkout that is very unique to the individual. Cross-sells, substitutes and alternatives. Understanding the user needs and, reviewing data, product purchases, what's purchased together, things like that. You can really show relevant additional products at timely information. So additional add-ons can be on your product page related to that product. And then also we have kind of done a lot of things around suggestions based on your cart. When a customer builds a cart, that we're able to show kind of suggestions that will enhance that basket, and offering convenience. It's great for product awareness and benefits both customers and the business with implementing these successfully. And then around content, this is where I think the most creativity can be used. The same block of information, like you can see here, can tell a very different story. So you can tailor the message or the goal for each piece of information when it comes to content. And it doesn't need a fancy new design every time. The same login, the same design, a different login can give the user a very different view of the content, and it cuts out the irrelevancy as well. So where complex segmentation probably isn't available, some simple techniques that even a login for a homepage, for instance, you've got your logged out view, which can showcase all of the benefits and the company. Aimed at basically new customers, whereas then once they log in, then it's cutting out all of that irrelevant information. They are a customer already, and now they get to see let's go into the kind of shopping, e-commerce, what's right for them, self-service, things like that. So at a very basic level, even just a log in, log out, you can do a lot when it comes to personalisation. So conclusion. I'm kind of at the end of it now. So I suppose what I'd love you guys to take away today is, I suppose, around the differing landscape, the change of the landscape that's happening at the moment. There's more and more pressure for the user experience and the personalisation side of an experience, and the data analytics as well. It's not, I suppose, it's heralded as this answer to everything, but I suppose really it's just the beginning, and facing you can give significant challenges when it comes to what to do with it, and the complexity of B2B, it does demand a nuanced approach. Like every company that comes to us, we can really, I suppose, get under the hood of what exactly is their limitations, what is their what can we do to actually give them some sort of personalisation to their customers, and then having a deep understanding of users and journeys, which can act as a guide for plotting out all of the relevant data and products along that journey. And I think that if, I suppose, companies successfully navigate even at a very basic level, they are at a very good stage and good foundation to scale that basically as the technology and everything kind of advances, that they're meeting the evolving needs of customers as they evolve. So that is me. And any questions? The awkward part of the story. That's fine. You can, as Tyg said, you can find us all at the end, and I hope that was interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.